Hey there, it's Don with the DIY Collaborative, and thanks for joining us today. We're continuing our series of pool maintenance tips, and today I'm again working on a Polaris that I have. It's a pool sweep pool cleaner that the pool uses. It basically goes around the pool and vacuums up debris from the bottom and scrubs the sides and just keeps your pool clean, and it's really a workhorse if you have one of these. What I'm actually going to be doing today is changing out one of the swivel ball bearings, and this line that connects the Polaris has, I believe this particular unit has 3 of these, and what it allows the hose to do so that the Polaris doesn't get tangled up is it allows it to flex. It's actually got a ball bearing in the center of this unit, and it allows that to spin so the Polaris can move freely around the pool without getting tangled up and things like that. And I've put some shots in the video showing you why I'm actually changing this out. These things wear out. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but this one's actually got quite a bit of flex to it, and we're going to take it off and replace the new one. And one of the things that you want to pay attention to when you're changing this out, these things have a little arrow, and in this case the arrow on this one is pointing towards the Polaris. So when you change them out, you want to make sure that you put the new one on, and you can see on the new one it's also got the arrow just like the old one. You want to change it out and make sure that you get those back on there in the same direction. And this one is all good and tight, and it's brand new. I actually got these off of Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description so you can find these. They're relatively inexpensive. I think I paid around maybe $8 for one of these, which is probably a half to a third of what my local pool supply wants. And these that came in are actually Polaris brand. I don't know if you can see that on the bag, but it's actually Polaris brand, so they seem to be good quality replacements at like a half to a third of the price. Okay, I think I've got this zoomed in a little bit better for you to actually be able to see. And you want to loosen these 2 nuts, and the new swivel ball bearing does not come with these nuts, so we'll be reusing those. If you need to replace those, you can actually get them, but we're not going to be replacing them at this time. So to take these off, you basically just want to start unthreading the nut from the rubber hose just by loosening it by hand like that, and you can see it just comes off of the hose. And what we may actually do on this, and I've done this before, you can see how ragged and jagged, and this may even have a little bit of damage to the hose right here. It looks like maybe a hole, which would also let air get in and escape from the line here. We may actually just trim these off slightly and start with fresh hose on the end, and you're going to see in the video that these things are pretty tight to go on there. So what I've done, and I show you this in the video as well, is you may have to let these set out in the sun just a little bit to become a little more flexible so you can actually work them back on to the new ball bearing. Let's go ahead and get started. You'll also want to pay attention to how these go on the unit. You can see here there's a little bit of a lip or a ridge that's not on this side of the nut, so you want to make sure that that's facing the center of your new bearing once you get these back on. So, and you can see this side is worn as well, like I was talking about. Looks like there may be quite a bit of like a crack right here in this hose, so we're probably going to trim this side off as well. And to do that, I'm just going to use like a box cutter razor blade knife, and I'll actually trim that off. And what I'm probably going to do is, in fact, I'll go ahead and do that now, is I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, and then I'll cut this loose from here so we can get the hose back onto the new ball bearing. But I'll probably still have to cut these to get the nuts off of the old bearing. So let's see how that goes. And you can see I've got it cut off there. And what I'm actually going to do is take and I'll straighten this cut up here just a little bit with my knife, because I want it to be a nice, you know, clean fit once I get it back on there. And that's not too bad. We'll make that work. And you'll actually want to go ahead and get the nut off of this other side and slide it on your ball bearing before you connect the hose to the new ball bearing. When I first started changing these out, I got one back together and I thought, yay for me. I got it on there and realized, oh yeah, I didn't have the nuts on it yet, so I had to take it, disassemble it and take it back apart. So now we're going to get the nut off of this one side, and to do that I'm just going to put a slice, if I can, in the piece of the old hose and just peel it off of there so I can get the bearing off. And see how easy that came off? And then you can take your nut and slide it off just like that. And then what I'm going to do is get the other end, get the ball bearing. Again, we're paying attention to which way the arrow is facing. So we're going to want to place the nut for the side that we're working on here, like that. And then we're going to want to position the hose back on the bearing like this. And it may take, like I said, a little bit of a coaxing, and I think I'm going to actually clean that up just a little bit more. I don't want anything to catch or any burrs sticking out there or anything like that. So I want to make that as smooth as I possibly can. And we're just going to throw that old piece away. Now you can see I'm starting to get it on there. I think you can see that. And I'm just continuing to work it just gradually until it slides into the hose. And you can see I've started to get it on there, but I want to actually get it on there a little bit further. I want to get it more towards the center of this bearing before I actually start threading the nut back onto the hose, because that's what's actually going to make the seal right here on the ball bearing with the hose. So we actually want to keep working it, and I think you can probably see this. It's just gradually going on there. Just be patient and be persistent, and it'll eventually go on there all the way. You can see I'm just gradually working it on there a little at a time. And see, it's actually starting to be more actually flush with where I want it to be. And now I think that's probably adequate, because here is the actual end of the hose on this side. So then you want to just start threading your nut onto the hose and just hand tighten it. And you can kind of tell on these when it's actually tight enough. And this one, it'll kind of stop turning. And you want to come back after you've had it back in service for a while and check these, and you can actually tighten them a little bit more. But this one seems good. So now we're going to do the other side. Thread this nut on, and you want that nut to be straight. Don't get it on there crooked, because that's also going to help with your seal. And you're actually screwing this to the right to tighten it onto this hose to make that seal. And you can tell again when it's tight, it'll almost stop turning when it's screwed on there as tight as it needs to be. And once you've got this one tight, you'll want to check this one again just to make sure. and it's still pretty tight, and then check your bearing, and that's moving very smoothly and very well now. So that's my tip on changing out the swivel ball bearings on your Polaris to keep it running smoothly. Hope that helps. Be sure and check out some of our other videos on the DIY Collaborative channel, and be sure and check out our website, thediycollaborative.com. Thanks. Sadie, can you get it? Let's get it. Somebody get it. Let's get it. Here it comes. Here it comes. Can y'all get it? Look. Look, it's right here. Let's get it. Here it comes. Here it comes. Get ready. Get ready.